Hello, adventurers, and welcome to the Journals of Thorgrim and Bella. I am your host, the Great Sean, and today I have a little issue that I just wanted to rant about and kind of bring to your attention. So, in Dungeons & Dragons, they have different editions. The game can never be perfect, but we're slowly getting closer and closer to that perfect with every edition. Right now we're at 5th edition, and it's pretty good, rules-wise. Though something that really grinds my gears is it's not just the rules that are changing, it's the lore. Sometimes it's for better, sometimes it's for worse. So that the game just doesn't get way too big and the books are like that thick, sometimes older lore needs to get left behind so that newer lore can be put in there. And that's understandable. Sometimes, however, it's not just that, it gets changed. And also, even when things get left behind, sometimes it's the really important stuff that gets left behind, and it's the useless information that's just kind of footnotes that get left, and that's what we have for lore. One of the examples of that, what I just said, where the important stuff got left behind, is the Night Hag. Believe me when I tell you, you don't know what a Night Hag is. You can go read the words that they tell you about the Night Hag in the monster manual, and you won't know what a Night Hag is. You can go to Volo's Guide to Monsters. That has a section on hags, a big section, a lot of useful lore. Read that. You don't know what a Night Hag is still. There is just so much. You're only looking at general, like what a Night Hag is, like what like an average commoner would know. Did you know that Night Hags are just as big of players as the demons and the devils down in the lower planes? Yeah, that's their thing. They're the guys that are fueling the blood war. And you did not know that. And I'm not even going to tell you how they're doing it. But that's their whole thing, and it doesn't tell you that. Now, one of the biggest sins regarding that, and sure, the Night Hags were bad, but like, Dragonborn, oh my boys, the Dragonborn got bashed so hard. So, in 5th edition, the Dragonborn have been completely neutered. They've been watered down to the point where it's not even the Dragonborn anymore. And I'm not sure if this is just the new lore for it, and the old stuff has just been gone, which really sucks, because the old lore was way cooler, or if the people who were writing it just didn't know, or they were genuinely trying to portray how the Dragonborn are supposed to be, and failing miserably. Either way, I'm a little bit upset. So, first of all, in the book, if you read, it says that Dragonborn worship dragon gods. What? What? No. No, no, no. No, no, no. No, Dragonborn do not worship dragon gods. They do not worship gods, period. They are a race of atheists. Sure, there is a small, and I'm talking small, sect of Dragonborn called the Platinum Cadre that do worship Baphomet. Is it Bahamut or Baphomet? Those are two different characters. Why is Bahamut and Baphomet two different characters in Dungeons & Dragons? I hate it. Okay, they worship the big, nice dragon god. But that's not something that you should be basing all of Dragonborn lore on. Because that is the exception, not the rule. Alright, let me tell you. So, the Monster Manual, in fact, there's a really good video on YouTube. I forget exactly who made it, but it's called What They Don't Tell You About Dragonborn. And the guy does that on a lot of things, and his whole channel is essentially this video's, like the solution to this video's issue, that what was in previous editions never gets talked about in 5th edition, and it gets changed and watered down, and it's not that good. Sometimes I do like the changes, but yeah. So if you want to learn more about what the original lore for the Dragonborn are, I'm going to give the summarized version here, but watch his video. Look up, I might put in the description below of what they don't tell you about Dragonborn. But, yeah, they don't tell you at all what Dragonborn are actually supposed to be. And the lore was so cool. When the Spell Plague happened, actually I should probably go even further back. So, back in the day, back way, way in the beginning, the Forgotten Realms was called Aber Toril, not just Toril. Big thing happened. Some people say it was Askarath, some people say it was Io, but either way the world was ripped in two. There's Toril, the one that we have today, and then there's the Aber, which is like a alternate dimension. That's where the Dragonborn came from. When Mystra was killed, parts of Aber was ripped over here, and parts of Toril was ripped over there. That's why we have Dragonborn now, here, and Aber has elves and dwarves now. So there. And back there, the gods just kind of abandoned the Dragonborn, because that was the place for the primordials. So the Dragonborn hate gods. And the dragons were their slavers, both chromatic and metallic, so they hate all dragons. So why in the hell would they worship a dragon god? A dragon god would be the epitome of evil in the eyes of a Dragonborn. And yet, the Monster Manual tells us that these beautiful creatures worship Baphomet, or Bahamut. I don't care at this point. Worship the big guy. No. No, they don't. Okay? It's so watered down. It was just... This is what the Monster Manual says about them. They are dragons, and they are people, and they don't have tails. That's a half-dragon. There is no difference between a half-dragon and a Dragonborn in 5th edition, except the tail. It's worse than Bullywug and Grung, which I've already talked about. It's worse because they're literally the same thing. The only difference is that the Dragonborn don't have an origin. It's just, they exist now. That's what they are. It doesn't even tell you. Like, if they're gonna, like, wipe away the lore, at least have a substitute and put something else there. Have where they come from. Because they're not dragon kin. They're not a human and a dragon. Then what the hell are they then? Listen, you can have your cake and eat it too. Because the half-dragons, they're pretty much what a Dragonborn is in 5th edition today. So you can have your cake and eat it too. Everything that you can have with a Dragonborn, you can have with a half-dragon. Just say it's a half-dragon that got his tail cut off, and that's a Dragonborn. Like, even visually, that's the only difference now. There used to be a visual difference, because half-dragons, they have metallic and chromatic versions, but Dragonborn don't do that. Looking at a Dragonborn scales will tell you nothing about their morality. You can't see a red half-Dragonborn and say, that's evil, because guess what? Most of them are red. They're all red, muddy brown. That's what a Dragonborn is. That's what they look like. You don't have blue Dragonborn with like the horn coming out the middle. Or you don't have black Dragonborn with like the two horns coming out the side. If you see that, that's a half dragon. You don't need to look at the tail. You can just look at the scales. If it looks like an actual dragon species, that's a half dragon. It's not a Dragonborn. And I've said this before, but I'm going to say it again. Because it's the point that really grinds my gears. And it's the old lore was so cool. It was so cool. And it had so much roleplay potential. But now, it's just so boring. They took away everything that was cool about the Dragonborn, and they didn't replace it with anything. Like, no, that's not my Dragonborn. I believe it was the 4th edition lore that was really cool. That was the only good thing that came out of 4th edition. That was the Dragonborn. Or maybe was it 3rd edition? Did the Dragonborn appear in 3rd edition or 4th edition? I'm not sure. I'm a 5th edition guy, but I like the lore of older editions. That's the thing. I've never played any other edition but 5th edition, and 5th edition's what got me into the game. But oh, that lore from older editions. Oh, it's juicy. It's juicy. I love it. I love it. Beautiful. So yeah, I encourage you to look at the lore from older editions before you use the new stuff. And a lot of times it doesn't even contradict it. It just fills you in more. So like, go back to older editions. Buy the Dragonomicon. That's a book that tells you lots of stuff that you need to know about dragons. It tells you why dragons have a breath weapon. It's really cool. They got a special organ in there that makes the fire and the lightning and the cold and stuff. I forget what it's called, though. Sorry for the coughing, by the way. I'm sick. So yeah, that's it for my little rant. I've ranted about the Dragonborn, a little bit about the Night Hags, but there's so many more creatures that have that. And I'll leave a link down in the description to what they don't tell you about Dragonborn, but go through his channel, the guy's channel, again, whose name escapes me. It is so good. So good. Especially his Night Hag video. Mwah. Mwah. Beautiful. Have fun.